You are now listening to the I Think I Love My Wife podcast. And this is your best friend's best friend, Chidozie Okafor, ready to take you on another journey. Are you with me? Because I'm ready. Let's get it. And we back, 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 and we back. Man, it's been a minute. It's been a long minute. I know most of y'all have been asking yourself, when is the podcast coming back? When is the podcast coming back? And in the words of Deion Sanders, it's coming. Best believe it, it's coming. Cause we back, yo. Cause we back, cause we back. Now the podcast coming back after this episode. The following week, the next season of I Think I Love My Wife podcast will return. But I wanted to take some time to talk about what's been going on, where I've been, what's been going on in my life, and why there was a bit of a break between season 2 and season 3, despite the pandemic and all of the things that this country and people have been dealing with thus far. So I felt like you guys deserved an update. You know, a lot of people are asking me about my life and what's going on. And so I just wanted to use this time to update you on what's been going on, things that I have in the works, that I put in the works, that are in fruition now, big milestones that I've been able to achieve, because life's, and you got to celebrate the small wins and the accomplishments as you are still striving and pushing for the things that you want. So I just wanted to take some time today to talk about that, talk about things that I've learned over the course of this time, some new philosophies and approaches that I'm taking when it comes to dating and trying to find my forever friend. So if you bear with me, I hope this is a great prelude into what will be, I really believe, a great and wonderful, real, extremely raw in terms of topics for season 3. So where do I start? I think I'll take it back to 2020 and the pandemic, all the police shootings. I think it took a toll on people to understand how do they spend their time when they couldn't go nowhere or anywhere. They had to navigate and confront things that they might have used various distractions to ignore. I felt like it was super traumatic to see all of the police shootings that happened just like back to back to back to back to back. And I had just recently moved at that time from Dallas to Austin for a new job opportunity. So I was in the city where I didn't know too many people, and I had a lot of time to truly reflect on, you know, what I wanted to do in the future, where I wanted to take this podcast, how I wanted to help and impact people. And interestingly enough, during that time, people were reaching out to me who are navigating relationship situations. And I guess because of the conversations I've had on the podcast, some of the things that I've discussed, people wanted my opinion on how they should navigate certain instances, situations that they were dealing with. And it was surprising to me a little bit that they wanted my advice, given that I'm not necessarily a proof point of it. But what I learned is that people started to find value in me providing more perspective, or what I would say is a broader perspective on how they're thinking about their situation, what are the potential courses of actions they can take, and next steps they could take to really give the relationship that they were in or their dating opportunity a fair shot. And so that compounded with all of the stuff that was going on with the police shootings and a realization that there was a lot of real-time trauma that we couldn't necessarily estimate by normalizing seeing these deaths on television, really made me think about how I could provide impact. And so during that time, as I was recording season 2, I was also getting certified to be a life coach. And so I've completed that certification and started a business called Nello Effect. You might have heard about that in the intro. And Nello Effect is basically a full service, well, almost full. It's not all the way full, but it's a service and consulting business where I provide life coaching for those that need that type of support. I give relationship support. I don't call it advice. I call it support for those that may have questions that they're navigating or situations they're navigating their relationship, and they want to make sure that they are not being the biggest barrier in that, and to help broaden their perspective of how they may want to handle certain situations, or to get additional perspective for how their partner may be feeling about a certain situation, or how do I foster an environment to have some of the real and authentic conversations that are essentially required to have a great foundation in a relationship. And then, in addition to that, I also provide what I call services for your own personal and career goals. And the analogy there is basically I'm like a personal trainer for you and your individual and career goals. And so been doing that, learning a lot, have had the opportunity and honor to help quite a few people in this journey, but I always felt like it wasn't enough, that there was always going to be a limitation and a degree in which I could support people. And so I made the decision, I would say, to go back to school. And so right now I'm currently in the process to become a licensed professional counselor. And I hope that as I go on that journey, as I finish another master's, this is going to be my third master's, my master's degree, I really hope that in the future I will be able to offer a full comprehensive level of support for people. Because I think trauma is real. I think we navigate things daily that require additional support. And I don't like to think about it in terms of life coaching, personal training for your goals, dating support, or counseling. I tend to think about this as thought partnership. And the same way you will hire an interior decorator to help you design your home if you don't have the ideas and concepts to do that, the same way you will hire an actual personal trainer for the accountability and direction and guidance when it comes to meeting your physical goals. The same way that you would hire a financial advisor to meet your financial goals is the same way when it comes to your personal life that I provide support, specifically thought partnership support, to help you feel good about the decisions you're making, the actions that you're taking, to be the best you, and find happiness in the decisions that you're making, the actions that you're taking, and the effort that you're giving. The main philosophy that I try to instill in the people that I work with is that we should all strive to find joy in the things that we could control. Our perspective, our decisions, and our effort. Because our happiness is way too valuable to gamble on uncontrollable outcomes. And I just felt like a lot of times we base our joy and our happiness on the outcomes and the results, which we don't have a lot of control over, but we can't control how we operate. And so that's kind of the philosophy that I work with, or I base my practice and my business off of. But that's what I've been doing. So I'm trying to get that off the ground. I've had really positive feedback from the clients that I've worked with, referrals from other clients that I've been involved with. And so if you find yourself in a situation where you want to learn more about yourself, need support in navigating whether it's personal goals, things that have happened in your life, relationship, situations, or decisions, hit me up. You can follow me and find more information on www.nelloeffect.com. That's NELO effect, EFFECT.com. And so while doing that, COVID was doing what COVID was doing. And so because people didn't know what was happening with work, I decided to move back home and got permission to move back home. And so I was back in Dallas and I bought a house. Although it took too damn long for them to build, let's say too damn long being damn near a year and a half to build and finish and me to close, as I was watching interest rates rise and rise and rise. by the grace of God, finally closed on it before interest rates got ridiculous. And I moved in this past summer. And so in addition to moving in, just trying to get settled and make my house a home, working, catching up with old friends that I really didn't get to spend time with during the pandemic or because I was not living in Dallas. And I was in school. So if you can imagine, your boy's been busy. Your boy's been busy just trying to set the foundation for what I want my life to look like, the options and the opportunities that I want to have in the future, the type of impact and the role that I want to play in this world, as well as on a personal level, just putting myself in position to make sure I'm the best me for the type of life that I want to have in the future, the type of work that I want to do in the future, and the type of partner I want to be for whoever I end up with. And as a result, I started seeing a therapist or a counselor, and nothing specific was going on, but I just felt like it was important to have, again, a thought partner to help me navigate things that I might be dealing with or going through, and help me just process it out to make sure that I wasn't being my own barrier as it pertains to how I saw the world, how I showed up for the world. And it's been good. And when I say good, I don't mean like delightful, it's been pleasant. I think it's just been a bit refreshing to take the load off, to not carry the weight 24 hours a day, to have a safe space where I can talk about the things that I'm questioning or things that I'm still trying to process, and put it out there, and also have someone to bounce thoughts, assumptions, challenge me in some ways, and hold me accountable in others. And so I find that aspect of it, all of that good and necessary and helpful. And so the biggest part I can say from seeing someone and having a regular touch point, I go like once a month, is just to take the load off a bit, to not feel like I have to carry the weight all the time, and have a safe space where I can just talk about the things without being the strong friend, without being the friend that has everything figured out. And that's something that I would say has been appreciated. And I hope, especially Black men, I hope that, and I won't stress it, I can't stress it enough, I hope that more and more of us take advantage of it. Find someone for us to talk to, and not wait till we're being reactive about it, and be more proactive. So in a lot of senses, it's preventative, and we're not lashing out. We're not being passive aggressive with it, or we're not waiting until it builds up in a way that it explodes and manifests in a way that's unproductive. But enough about that. I think people are always asking me my take on certain things, and I thought, although this doesn't set the table for the upcoming season, which I think is great because we talk about a lot of important topics. We talk about dealing with cultural differences. We talk about sex. S-E-X, mama secrets. And daddy's gonna go crazy when he found out that his baby found a S-E-X. I don't know why that Life Jennings song just came in my head, but we will be talking about sex and the romanticism in sex, and what actually happens in relationships, and how do you get on one accord when you're not aligned. Talk about pregnancy, navigating miscarriages, having rainbow babies. How do you show up for your partner in tough situations? Some of the trade-offs that you have to make for your partner. And we will talk about dating. I know this is called I Think I Love My Wife, but before you get there, a lot of times you have to date. And so that's why I want to spend a little bit of time of setting the table from my perspective on dating, or essentially why I hate the term, or I really dislike the term dating. And so I want to just spend a few minutes just on my soapbox and provide a little bit of context to how I changed my approach to quote unquote dating. A lot of people may not agree with it, but I just don't even like to use the term dating. And I'll give context to like what I've been doing. People always want to know my business, so I'll just give you a little context. I probably dated like since 2020. I probably dated like 10 to 15 women in the past 2 years. And when I say dating, we were going on dates, having conversation, at a frequency that was, I would say, starting to lead to expectations in terms of interactions. And, we did adult things here and there with some of them. But I think in that time, I've been in situations where long distance played a issue in the lack of success, because I don't really do long distance. I'm not a fan of it, but I did try to give it a shot. I've been in situations where the girl was feeling me more than I was, and I needed time to see if I could get there. And I've also been on the flip end of it, where I was just smitten by a young lady and I was ready to risk it all prematurely. And I probably was doing too much, or at least in her eyes, doing too much. And I was like, oh, this is how people be feeling when I be dating them. I feel like the tables were turned a little bit. And so that was good perspective for me to have. I've been in situations where I realized that what we wanted wasn't aligned, but I was like, we could still kick it. And we kicked it for a bit, even though there was alignment on the fact that there wasn't a future. And so I've say all that to say that I've run the gamut on experiences. And that's led me to an approach, because I just feel like the way that mainstream America, Western culture dates doesn't really yield a great ROI. Like the success rate, when you think about all the people that you have dated or your friends have dated, and to get to the point where you're married and happily married, and I say this with the assumption that that's the goal, the success rate is very low. And so I challenged myself to think about what other type of business or process or anything that has such a low success rate will continue to adopt the same process. And so for me, I won't go as far as say I flipped, dating on its head, but I'm taking a chance. I've been taking a chance to do it a bit differently in hopes of having better results. And I ain't gonna put all my business out there, but I think it's going well. But the premise of it is like, I'm just not a fan of the term dating. I feel like if you pull 15, 20, 10 different people and ask them what dating means to them, it's different. And so rather than use buzzwords that we think we are on the same page for, but it in actuality means something different, I just don't even like to say I'm dating anybody. I think my approach has been one on phases. I think anytime that you are involved with someone and there's a level of expectations, you're in a relationship. Now the degree of how formal it is, how exclusive it is, all that's for you and whoever you are in that relationship to discuss and make sure that you guys are on the same page with. But for people to say, well, I'm not in a relationship with this person. Well, if you're talking to them often, if you guys are going on dates, if you guys are having some type of interactions, consistent interactions, y'all have a relationship. The same way you have a relationship with your friends, and there's levels to your friendship, your associates, your close friends, your acquaintances, the people you just go out with, the people that you would call in an emergency. All those are relationships. They just vary in terms of how much work you may put into it and what you expect out of it. And so that's what I believe dating is no different than. And so my personal belief, and I started in my new approach, is communicating that up front. When I meet someone and I'm somewhat interested, I let them know, like, I don't really believe in the term dating. And I feel like there's phases that we go through, and those are the phases that matter. And it's important to have open and honest conversations about where that person is in your life, what stage or phase you have them in, so there's no confusion about that. And people may say, well, you just don't want to be exclusive. I have no problem with being exclusive. But my goal in life is not to have a girlfriend. The criteria to be my girlfriend is not nearly as much as it is from someone I want to be my wife. And so I'm not looking or navigating the process with an interim milestone. I'm looking at it through the lens of trying to get to my final destination. And for that reason, having a girlfriend or rushing to that stage isn't super important to me. I think that what happens with most people, regardless of what they want to call it, is that there's a time period in which they're getting to know each other. And in that getting to know each other stage, They're just vibing. Do I like this person? Do I like being around them? I'm learning more information about them to see what bucket of potential seriousness you may want to put them in. And now once you've made that determination, whether they're just going to be someone that you kick it with or someone that there might be more in, there is a stage that you go into where you have to prioritize that person. And when it comes to prioritizing that person, it is prioritizing time for that person, prioritizing activities or things that make that person happy. When you think about your life, where does that person begin to fit? Where when it's time to make trade-offs, you're willing to trade off certain things for that person. And they don't have to be serious things, but most of the time it comes to play when it's about making time for that person and maybe doing things they may want to do that you don't want to do and showing that person that they're important to you. And there's no set in stone time how long any of these phases work. But I think that prioritization phase is really important because that's where you grow with someone. And that's where you ideally build a friendship and a deeper connection with someone, that you go from prioritizing that person to choosing that person. And when you choose that person, I think at that point is where you're ready to be in an exclusive, committed relationship. Now, whether you call that person your boyfriend, your girlfriend, or whatever, that's your business. But oftentimes that title is there for other people. It's to help other people understand what your relationship is. I tend not to spend time worrying about how other people understand my relationship. And people may say, well, what if someone, listen, if you don't give people energy and fuel, they can't approach you. They can't do anything that you don't want them to do. I don't need to tell someone that I have a girlfriend for that to be why we can't have a conversation. Like to me, and I'll just speak for me, the obligation of isn't the reason why I want someone not to entertain another person. I want that person not to entertain someone because I respect him enough. I like him enough. I'm really involved with someone that I like, that I don't want to entertain anybody else. There's a slight nuance when you meet someone and say, I can't give you my number because I have a boyfriend or I have a girlfriend. Because the contrast is, well, if you didn't have one, you might be interested, versus I'm really involved with someone that I care about and I fuck with, and that's all I'm focused on right now. Very slight nuance, but very different. And I think it takes time to really get to that point of where you're actually building for something greater than a status. And that's how I look at it. I'm not saying that it's the only way to do it, but I think when you go through those phases and you're not worried about a milestone. And the reason why I harp on this milestone of, the relationship is because I just been in so many situations where it has felt like people are striving for that. And then there's complacency afterwards. And I don't understand the value of the title, because some may say, well, we've got relationship security. I know what he is to me. She knows what I am to me. But people cheat. Like, people cheat all the time in a relationship, in a boyfriend, girlfriend, exclusive relationship. So if anything, it's a false sense of security. And so if you don't trust how that person's moving, if you don't trust the word that person tells you, the title doesn't mean anything. And so that's what I'm building for. I'm building for that trust. And that stuff takes time, at least for me. Like, for me to trust what you're saying, I need to see it in action. I need to see it when you're tempted to do something else, or when you have the opportunity to do something else. It's easy to say, I'm down for this, I'm down for that. And then when you get challenged or something interesting tempts you, you may be, sounding off a little differently. And so for me, I'm just like, listen, you have the right and choice to opt out at all times. That's the reality of things, right? Like, whether you're married, whether you're in an exclusive boyfriend and girlfriend relationship, you always have the right and capability to opt out. Now, in a marriage, it may take more work, time, energy, resources, and money to do that, but you always have to do it. And so I always want someone to get to the point where they like me enough, they know me well enough, that they know what I am, who I am, how I show up is what they want in their lives. So that every day they're choosing me. And it's effortless. And to me, that just comes with time in terms of showing up the way that you want to show up for yourself, and that person getting to know that and setting expectations off of that. Not off of what I expect my boyfriend to be or what I expect my girlfriend to be, but hey, I know this person. I know Sally. I know Jada, and this is how Jada and Sally move. And because I know who they are and how they move, these are the expectations I have for them. That's very different from a blanket set of expectations. Not to say that you can't have a certain number of expectations that are the same across people, but expectations should be nuanced. What people are doing to try to make you happy, to try to accommodate you, may not look the same, but I think it's important to provide grace for effort. And you don't know that till you see what people's benchmarks are. And so I just believe that the prioritization phase and the stage where you're prioritizing without the exclusivity is super important, because at that point in time, you know everything you're doing is by free will and choice. And so that's kind of been the philosophy I've taken. Now, I will say that you can't just do that with anybody, right? Like, in the same manner, like, if you're going to be in an exclusive relationship, you have to trust the person, right? If you don't trust the person, then why are you being in an exclusive relationship? That, I think there are certain requirements where certain things need to be in place for this process or this approach, I would say, to work. I think there needs to be open communication, and you need to feel free to discuss any topic, the hard ones, the soft ones, the challenging ones, the uncomfortable ones. If you are not in a place where you can't have that conversation and communicate in a manner where you are being real and open, then the phase process won't work. You need more structure and boundaries and things like that, and do what everybody else is doing. You also need to have honesty, and that shows up over time. Well, the belief in that person being honest shows up over time. And so if you're communicating well and being open, keeping it real, if you're being honest, you also have to see action in it. And seeing someone's action reinforces the communication and honesty that you've seen. And that's where trust comes from. When you see action that follows someone's word, follows the things they've told you, proves honesty, and then you see it consistently. So now you have communication, you have honesty, you have action that's backing it up, and you have it in a consistent manner. That's how you form trust. A lot of times we say we trust this person, we say we trust that person, but when you think about some of the issues that you're having with someone, a lot of times it's based because there's not always 100% trust. Or I wouldn't even say 100%. There's not enough trust there, and it's manifesting in other ways that are trivial. And so I think if you are communicating, if you have honesty, if you're being honest and you see the honesty and it's backed up by action in a consistent manner, and you get people, and you're patient enough to let the process play out and not quick to cut people off, cancel people, and just see how things play off and endure, I think that's how you build a foundation for something that's going to be successful over time. And so those are the things that I work on, especially when I'm prioritizing someone. Like, I don't want someone to fall in love with the routine of the relationship and the things that we do, because when life happens and those things are not panning out, then you no longer find value in the relationship. Insert whoever, right? I want the person that I'm with to fall in love with me, because I only know how to be me consistently. And if you fall in love with me, the relationship's going to do what it's going to do. And so my fear is, and you can say I'm operating in fear, but based off observations, I feel like people tend to fall in love with the idea of being in a relationship, especially women. And so I love that we get to do X, Y, Z. I love the matching PJs during the holidays. I love that I have someone to talk to or listen to me. But where's the person, right? Like, where's the person in that? And I think we rush to get into those habitual routines with someone that gives us joy and happiness, and nothing's wrong with it. But to me, I want that person to make the choice of me before the routine. I want the person to make the choice that of me versus the obligation that they said that they have this status and they need to live up to what that status means. That's what I'm solving for in it. And so I think it's been cool so far. I think it's worked in the sense of in my conversations and interactions with women. I think a lot of trust has been developed. I think it's been helpful to manage expectations across the board for me and for that person. I think it's helped have alignment. And when I say alignment, we can align that like, yo, this ain't going to work, but you still cool and we can kick it until you don't want to kick it no more or someone doesn't want to kick it no more. Alignment doesn't necessarily have to be that, oh, we're together. Alignment can be like, hey, this is what it is. Or it can be like, hey, we're taking this serious, right? And so benefits of it, again, trust, manage expectations, alignment, and I think what I call practical, healthy progress. Because it tends to be like a big swoosh. Oh, I'm in a relationship, and it feels heavy. Not heavy, but like a lot soon, and then it mellows out. And that euphoric state of the relationship kind of dulls. And I think, relationships are about, especially ones that last the test of time, are just about practical, meaningful, incremental, healthy progress. And it doesn't stop when you become someone's girlfriend. It doesn't stop when you get married. It is a continual behavior. And so I want to practice that from the jump. I'm continuing trying to learn about whoever I'm involved with. I'm continuing trying to grow with that person. I'm continuing trying to be better for that person as we get to a more serious stage for myself and to make that person happy. I don't think that happiness, a relationship should be the source of happiness, but it can damn sure kill it and destroy it and make it less. It's the same thing. Like money's not the root of happiness, but it can make a down payment on it. And the relationship shouldn't be a source of your happiness, but it sure can, be a Debbie Downer on it. So my goal is just to show up. My goal has been to make sure that I provide positive experiences for the people that I may be involved with, so that when they look back on the experience, it was a positive one in the sense of the positiveness isn't from the outcome, but from the experience. You can have a positive experience that may not turn out the way you wanted it to turn out. I use an example. I used to tell people when they interned for business school, hey, find out your nose early, right? You can have a great, let's say, consulting experience for your internship. You traveled the country, you had perks, you made a lot of money, but at the end of the day, you realize, hey, that's not the type of work I want to do forever. The experience was great, but the outcome did not lead into your desired outcome, which was an internship or a job offer, because you didn't want it. Or the company said, hey, you're not a great fit. We need people that work this fast, and you like to work this fast. Sometimes you can have positive experiences that don't lead to the outcomes that you desired. And there's nothing wrong with that. If anything, I think that we need to be okay with the fact that in relationships, sometimes it's just about the season and the person and the experience and what you can learn from it. And the outcome will be what it is. And again, I'm not saying this will work for everyone. I'm just taking a different approach because historically, when you look at the world, especially Western culture, and personally, the approach that I've taken hasn't yielded the success I wanted. So I'm trying something different. And I think so far, what it's led to, I can say, is without putting all my business out there, overall, it's been positive experiences. It's been open and honest conversations. It's been early alignment on direction that we're taking. And it's been getting to know good people. And I don't know that you can ask for anything more until you find the person that you're going to be with forever. I can tell you there hasn't been drama. There hasn't been disrespect. There hasn't been anyone feeling discounted or misled on either side. And I speak in a manner which it's easy to assume that I'm the puppet master and I'm controlling all the things that go and I'm the one saying yes or no, but I've had open and honest conversations with women, and a young lady say, hey, I like you, we're cool, we get along, but I can't get over seeing you as just a friend. And we still cool, like I get it, right? We at least invested the time, we got to see it. I had a woman say, hey, it seems like you're more emotionally invested in this than I am. Okay, cool, got it. And you take that, you move on, but the experience was good. It was a positive experience. And I've been the person to have some of those conversations too. Hey, we're not on the same page, but you still want to kick it, we can't. As long as you know, like, hey, this is not moving in a direction that's going to lead to marriage. And so I just think the more you can be honest, respectful, and candid, and genuine, authentic in your approach and respectful, the better outcomes you're likely to have. Because one, you're being authentic to yourself. You're not moving to the beat to try to achieve something for the sake of achieving it and risk, moving outside of who you are. And you can be happy about the choices you make, understanding where that person is, and not necessarily looking back with regret. And so, yeah, I've been on my soapbox for a while. I just wanted to put that out there in the world, give you guys an update on the things that I've been working on, why I haven't put out an episode in such a long time, and what I'm building towards in terms of building a business that supports people in their mental health, that involves them personally, their relationships, and the things they hope to accomplish in life. And if I'm being honest with you, if I can have a vulnerable moment with you guys, I think I've been open but vulnerable. Sometimes you just don't know like if you should be doing certain things. Like season 3 is ready to go, but I needed to record this for the longest time, and sometimes I'm asking myself, why am I doing it? I got other things to do. I'm not getting paid for this. But you get reminded in the most random situations of how beneficial this is to people or how much people appreciate it. And so for all the people that have come to me and said and told me, hey, how much they enjoyed the podcast, how much they've appreciated, how excited they are for the next episode or the next season to drop, I thank you all, because those are often serving as like a spark plug in me, a jump in me to get back involved and to put more energy into this. I'm hoping that as I launch season 3, that I can get the resources and funding to start doing this via video, because the way most podcasts are moving is people want to see people's reactions and want to see people's faces. And so I'm trying to set up a situation where I can start recording it and have video and audio content for the podcast. And so the only way that can be done is through your support. So I hope you support the podcast, tell your friends about it, leave a review, rate the podcast, and donate. The money that we receive through donations will help buy the equipment, reserve studio time to actually put together a video podcast. You could donate to thinklovewife_donations at nelloeffect.com via Zelle. I'll make sure I have that in the description. It's also on the IG page at thinklovewife, where you can see that. Any contribution, large or small, will really support the mission that we're trying to accomplish over here. I know I've talked about a lot today, so more of the story. For me, 1, life has been lifing, but God is good. Praise be the glory. 2, I started a coaching business where I provide thought partnership support to people, and I'm currently working on getting my license to become a therapist. 3, interim titles don't really matter as much if your end goal is marriage. As long as you communicate, you're being honest, following through with action in a consistent manner, and being patient while showing up in an authentic manner, the interim titles don't really matter if the goal is marriage. And 4, season 3 is starting next week. I say it again, season 3 is starting next week. And lastly, if you want to support the boy, if you want to support your best friend's best friend, if you want to support the I Think I Love My Wife podcast, especially for season 4 as we try to make it provide more video content, please consider donating to the cause. There'll be more information about that in the description. But again, you can always donate via Zelle at thinklovewife_donations at Nello Effect. Again, I'll put that in the description for you. But like I said in the beginning, season 3 is going to drop next week. Looking forward to it. Have a good friend that's going to join me. He was my roommate for a bit, my Nigerian brother. And so I'm excited for him to start the podcast, for his perspective to lead the way. The energy is going to be real. The topics are going to be serious and fun. We'll continue to do the quick fire round that everyone loves. And, I hope that at the end of the day, this helps you broaden your perspective and that the conversation keeps